The stars were silent when the ship exploded. A bright flash tore across the black sky as metal broke apart in every direction. Inside one of the escape pods, a young human boy named Leo was falling fast. His eyes were wide, his heart was racing, and all he could hear was the sound of alarms. Leo was only 14 years old. He had never seen space battle before. He was traveling with his father's cargo team, delivering supplies to a distant colony, but now he was alone, and the pod was crashing. The pod hit the surface of the strange planet with a loud bang. Dust flew everywhere, trees bent under. The force in the pod rolled before stopping near a cliff. Leo was lucky he was alive. He looked around, shaking, trying to understand where he was. The planet was not like Earth. The sky was a soft purple, and the plants were huge and glowing. In strange colors, the trees had long silver leaves, and the ground felt warm under his feet. His pod was badly damaged, and the communication system was broken. There was no way to call for help. Leo checked the food pack only, 3 days' worth water filter. Broken oxygen, stable but limited. He knew he had to find shelter and maybe some help, if there was any life on this planet. He stepped out of the pod with a small backpack and began walking into the forest. Every step made a soft crunch on the purple grass. He kept turning around, feeling like something was watching him. But there was nothing, just trees and fog. Hours passed. The sun, or whatever that bright orange light in the sky was, started to set. Leo felt cold and tired. He found a cave and decided to stay there for the night. As he sat down, he heard a sound, crack, snap, footsteps. Leo stood up quickly, holding a broken metal pipe from the pod like a weapon. His eyes scanned the dark. Then, from the shadows, shapes began to appear, small figures with big eyes and thin bodies. They didn't speak, but they didn't attack either. They just looked at him, silent, curious, and sad. One of them stepped forward. It was about his height, with soft blue skin and long fingers. Its eyes glowed gently in the dark. It pointed at Leo's bag and to its mouth. Was it asking for food? Leo slowly took out a food bar and handed it over. The creature took it, sniffed it, and then shared it with the others. They ate carefully, like they hadn't eaten in days. Leo was surprised. These creatures were not dangerous. They were starving. More of them came forward, maybe 15 in total. They formed a circle around him, and one of the older ones made a motion with its hand. It wanted Leo to follow. He hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. He needed shelter, and maybe these creatures could help. They walked for a long time, through thick forests and quiet valleys. Leo noticed that many of the creatures were weak, limping, or carrying others. He saw dry plants, cracked soil, and empty rivers. Something was wrong with this planet. Finally, they reached the village. It was hidden between high cliffs and built from stone, wood, and strange glowing vines. The homes were round and simple, some half buried in the ground, but what shocked Leo was how empty it all felt. No animals, no crops, just tired faces and silence. The leader of the village came forward. He's taller than the others, with deep lines on his face. He looked at Leo and spoke in a slow, soft voice Leo couldn't understand. But the message was clear from his eyes. They needed help. Leo sat with them, and they offered him a place to sleep. He couldn't stop thinking, why were they starving? Why was their land dying? And most of all, what had happened to this place? That night, as he lay inside a small hut made of leaves and stone, Leo looked at the stars through a hole in the roof. He missed Earth, he missed his family, and he was scared. But something inside him said he couldn't just leave them like this. Maybe he couldn't leave at all. He looked at his bag, then at the broken pieces of his escape pod lying outside the village. Metal, wires, glass, circuits, useless trash, or maybe, just maybe, the start of something. As he closed his eyes, a soft sound came from the edge of the village, a whisper in the trees. He wasn't alone, and not everything in the forest was friendly. The morning light on the alien planet was soft and golden. Bird-like shadows flew across the sky, but made no sound. Leo stepped out of the small hut. Blinking at the sunlight, the village was quiet, too quiet. Alien children sat on the ground, their eyes dull, their bodies thin. Mothers stirred empty pots, hoping to boil something, even if it was just roots. Fathers walked with tools, but there was nothing left to fix. Machines lay broken in the dirt, covered in dust and vines. Leo walked slowly through the village. Every step showed him more of their suffering. He saw dry gardens, cracked pipes, broken fans, and shattered screens. The aliens didn't need weapons. They needed water, food, and light. He sat near a small cooking fire, where Rin, the young alien girl from the night before, gave him a piece of dried leaf to eat. It tasted like paper, but Leo thanked her anyway. She looked at him with curious eyes, not afraid, not angry, just hopeful. The village elder, tall and silent, stood near an old pillar. It had symbols carved into it, glowing faintly. Leo pointed to the machines scattered around. Then to the broken wires in his bag. He touched the elder's hand and said, "I can try, of course." They didn't understand his words, but somehow the elder understood his meaning. He gave a slow nod, then motioned toward the back of the village. There, behind a line of stone walls, was a deep pit. Leo climbed down and found piles of broken tools, wires, glass, and strange metal sheets. Old tech, forgotten to quote, the aliens called trash, but to Leo, it was treasure. His mind started working. He remembered science classes, his dad's stories about engineering, and the time he fixed a fan using nothing but a spoon and a battery. Now he had no spoon, no battery, but he had something more important, a reason to try. He spent the day pulling parts from the junk, laying them on the ground, and sketching designs in the dirt. Alien children gathered around him, whispering and pointing. Rin sat beside him, handing him tools without asking. The adults stood back, unsure whether to trust the strange human with their last hope. Leo picked up a curved lens from a broken screen. He smiled. This could collect sunlight. He found a cracked power cell from his escape pod and a coil of alien wire. He twisted, bent, and connected them all. Slowly, carefully, by nightfall, he had something, a rough machine, no bigger than a box. He placed it outside and waited. Nothing happened. The aliens began to turn away, disappointed, but then a soft hum, a tiny light flickered on the machine, then another. The solar energy was working. It powered a small fan, then a bulb, then a broken food heater that hadn't worked in years. Gasps filled the village. Children clapped, elders stared, and Rin gave Leo a look he would never forget. Not fear, not wonder, belief. For the first time in months, the food heater glowed warm. They cooked real soup from roots and seeds they had saved. Everyone got a taste. It wasn't much, but it was enough to bring back hope. That night, Leo sat near the fire, watching the stars again. The alien elder came and sat beside him, holding a tiny glowing stone. He placed it in Leo's hand and closed his fingers around it. A gift, a thank you, and a promise. He was one of them now, but far beyond the village. Something else was watching, something hidden in the trees with glowing red eyes. It saw the light in the village, saw the machines come back to life, and it did not like what it saw. The forest was no longer quiet. Something had been disturbed, and Leo's invention had just lit a fire that could change everything or destroy it. The sun rose slow over the alien mountains. A soft wind moved through the empty fields, touching broken machines and silent homes. But something had changed in the village. There was a spark of light and of hope. Leo stood near the center of the village, his hands covered in dirt and metal dust. Around him lay pieces of old tech trash to the aliens, but treasure to him. He wasn't just a visitor anymore. He had become something more. The villagers started calling him Fixer. Rin, the alien girl, followed him everywhere, carrying wires and tools. In just 2 days, Leo had repaired a food heater, built a working fan, and made small power lights from broken solar panels. Each time something lit up, the villagers smiled wider. The children laughed again. The elders began planting seeds in hope. Not just habit, but not everyone was smiling. From the forest edge, far from the village, something was watching. Dark figures with sharp eyes and quiet feet. They didn't believe in machines. They didn't believe in outsiders, and they didn't like what the human was building. Leo didn't know about the Watchers. He was busy working on his biggest idea yet. A full power system made from the trash pit, the broken escape pod, and sunlight. A system that could heat the soil, grow food faster, clean water, and run basic machines. He drew his plan on the ground with a stick, circles, lines, arrows, strange alien symbols. Rin watched and added her own markings, showing where old tech was buried under the village. Together, they made a new kind of map, half human, half alien. They worked day and night. Leo pulled apart a broken alien engine and used its copper core. He peeled wire from a rusted machine and twisted it with parts from his pod. He used lenses, mirrors, metal plates, anything he could find.
Ow.
Rin helped him shape a frame using stone and bones from old tools. She showed him a rare flower that could store sunlight in its petals. They built something no one had ever seen before. Not beautiful, not clean, but powerful. It hummed when touched and glowed in the dark. When they turned it on, the ground shook slightly. Lights lit across the village one by one. The water filter made a soft splash. A dead greenhouse blinked. To life, warmth returned to the soil. The village exploded with joy. People danced, laughed, and cried. Even the oldest machina weather reader clicked for the first time in years. The elder came to Leo and placed both hands on his shoulders. He said something in the alien language that Leo couldn't understand. But the meaning was clear. You brought life back. That night they had a celebration. Small fires burned. Music played from carved stones. Rin gave Leo a cloak made from woven leaves. The children painted glowing lines on his face. He smiled for the first time in days. But joy has a cost, and in the shadows, someone was angry. A figure stepped from the forest, quiet as smoke. It looked at the lights, the machines, the laughing children, and it remembered a time when machines had brought war. When fire rained from the sky, it saw the human not as a helper but as a threat. Later that night, as Leo slept near the new machine, a hand reached from the dark. A cable was cut. A mirror was cracked. A pipe pulled free. The machine sputtered, then died. The power lights blinked out. One by one, in the morning, the village woke to silence. No light, no heat, no water. The joy was gone, replaced by fear. Leo rushed to the machine. His heart-drop parts were smashed, wires torn, the solar lens broken. He looked around and saw a footprint not from the villagers. Something else had done this. Something didn't. Want them to rise again? He looked at Rin, and she looked back with worry in her eyes. This wasn't just about fixing things anymore. Now someone wanted him to fail, and Leo wasn't going to let that happen. The village felt cold again. Not because the sun was gone, but because the light of hope had vanished overnight. Leo stared at the broken machine in silence. Wires were ripped, the solar lens was cracked, and the power core had been pulled loose. Rin stood beside him, her hands shaking. The villagers watched from a distance, whispering and pointing. Some blamed the wind. Some blamed the machine, but Leo knew. The truth? This wasn't an accident. He knelt down and found the footprint again. It was larger than his, with sharp edges and 4 toes. Not from the villagers. Not from any animal he had seen. Someone had come in the night. Someone who didn't want the machine to work. That someone was still out there, watching Leo worked. All day trying to fix what was damaged, but the solar collector was beyond repair. He needed a new one, and the junk pit was empty. He needed parts that didn't exist in the village, unless they were being stolen. Rin took Leo to an old tunnel hidden behind the cliffs. It was narrow, covered in moss, and smelled like smoke. This is where old tech was thrown before the great drought, she said. Leo stepped inside, heart pounding. As they walked deeper, they heard something move. A faint clink of metal, a whisper, then silence. Suddenly, a rock fell from above. Nearly hitting Leo's head, he ducked and held Rin back. More movement, more shadows. Then they saw them. Dark shapes, fast and thin, running deeper into the tunnel. One of them dropped something. It was a wire from Leo's machine. Stolen, they chased the shadows until the tunnel opened into a hidden valley. There, under thick vines and stone walls, was another village, but it was different. No light, no joy, no warmth, just smoke, ash, and silence. Strange flags hung from broken trees, and in the center, a large metal totem stood. On it were weapons, tools, and shattered tech burned and rusted. This was not a place of builders. It was a place of destroyers. Leo and Rin hid behind a rock and watched dozens of creatures like Rin's people moved about. But their eyes were harder, their faces angry. They wore bones and metal as armor. They didn't farm, they stole. They saw the leader, a tall figure with deep scars and glowing red eyes. Around his neck he wore a strange object. Leo squinted. It was a power core, one of the rarest pieces of tech on the planet. The one thing he needed to fix the village's energy system, he whispered to Rin. We need that core, she nodded. But her face was pale. These people. They don't believe in machines, she said. They believe machines are a curse. A danger from the sky, Leo understood. To them, his inventions were not miracles. They were threats. They feared what they didn't understand, but fear could not stop him, not now. Back in the friendly village, the crops had already started to wilt. The water pipes were dry again. The food heaters were cold. The children cried at night. And the elders had gone silent. Leo looked at Rin. He had a choice to make. Hide and stay safe, or take a risk and change everything. He chose the second. That night, Leo began building again. Not a power machine this time. Something smaller. Faster, smarter, a device to sneak in, take the core, and escape without being seen with Rin's help. He shaped a glider from alien bark and wing-like fabric. They coated it in silent moss. To hide it from sound sensors, Leo wasn't just fixing machines anymore. He was planning a mission. He was going into the heart of the enemy's home, not to destroy, but to take back the light. The night was silent, but Leo's heart was not. It beat fast, heavy. Louder than the wind above the cliffs, he stood near the edge of the forest with Rin, looking down at the dark path ahead in his hand. He held the glider they built together, small, light, and nearly invisible. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a mission. A mission into the heart of the enemy. The rival tribe had the power core. The last piece Leo needed to bring life back to the village. But they wouldn't trade it. They wouldn't share it. They believed in silence, fire, and fear. Not light, not growth, not hope. Leo pulled the cloth of his glider over his shoulders. Rin helped tie it tight across his chest. She handed him a tiny stone, glowing blue. For luck, she whispered. Then she stepped back into the shadows. Waiting, Leo took a deep breath and ran. He jumped off the cliff, and the glider caught the wind like a bird of night. He soared silently across the valley, flying just above the trees below him. The enemy village burned dim with red firelight. He landed beyond the smoke, between tall bones that marked the entrance. He crouched low, hidden by rocks and shadows. The rival tribe moved like ghosts, fast, silent, and strong. They carried sharp tools made of bone and black glass. They didn't speak much, only watched. Leo waited. Heart pounding, then he saw it. In the middle of the camp, on a high wooden platform, was the power core. Glowing, humming, perfect. It was tied to a metal totem and guarded by two tall figures. Leo had to move fast. He crawled low, hiding behind broken crates and old machines. Every sound made him freeze. Every shadow looked like danger. Closer, step by step, breath by breath. He reached the platform and climbed the side quietly. The guards were half asleep, heads nodding in the warm firelight. Leo reached the power core. His hands shook as he untied the rope. The core was heavy and warm, like holding a beating heart. He placed it gently in his bag. Then snap, a rope broke. A wooden piece fell and hit the ground with a loud crack. One of the guards woke. He turned, saw the shadow of the boy, and roared. The camp exploded into noise. Drums, shouts, flashing lights. Leo ran, jumped off the platform, and hit the ground hard. Pain shot through his leg, but he kept running. He raced through the village, dodging spears and smoke. Hands reached for him, but he slipped away. He ran through the bone gate, into the dark trees. Rin was waiting near the tunnel. Eyes wide with fear, Leo shouted, "Go, now!" They ran together into the tunnel, feet pounding on stone. Behind them, voices chased. But the tunnel twisted, narrowed, then vanished under a waterfall. They jumped through, and the voices faded. Silence returned, breathing hard. Leo pulled the power core from his bag. It was safe. They returned to the village before sunrise. The people were still asleep, cold and tired, but Leo didn't rest. He worked, hands blistered, eyes red. He rebuilt the broken machine, piece by piece. When the first light of morning touched the village, the machine roared to life, this time stronger than before. The power core glowed deep blue, spreading energy through every cable. Every pipe, every light, water flowed again. The heaters warmed the soil. Greenhouses began to glow. One by one, the villagers woke to light and warmth. Cheers filled the air. Rin smiled through tears. The elder stepped forward, placed both hands on Leo's shoulders, and bowed low. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to, but Leo knew he had stolen more than a machine. He had stolen back their future, far away in the dark forest. The rival tribe watched the lights from the hilltop. They didn't attack, not this time. They saw the food growing, the children laughing, the fire of hope, and deep inside, something began to change. The village was alive again. Green light glowed from the soil. Water flowed through pipes that hadn't moved in years. Laughter echoed from one home to the next. But Leo wasn't smiling. He stood on the hill with Rin, looking across the valley in the distance.
Ow.
Smoke rose from the rival tribe's camp. Dark, lonely, silent smoke. They were still watching, still waiting, still hungry. Leo held the power core close to his chest. Yes, he had saved the village. Yes, he had stolen what they needed. But something didn't feel right. These people suffer too, he said quietly. They fear what they don't understand. Rin frowned. They tried to hurt us, she whispered. They would have killed you. Leo nodded. Maybe, he said, but what if we showed them something different? He turned and walked back to the machine he had just repaired. Its heart was glowing blue, warm, strong. What? But Leo didn't stop there. He began building. Again, this time the villagers didn't watch with fear or doubt. They came to help. They handed him tools, wires, old tech, and rare crystals. Rin brought food and water as he worked through the night. Leo was building something new. Not just a power source, not just a heater or a light. He was building a gift, a second machine, made from trash, memory, and hope. It hummed with soft power.
Ow.
It glowed with calm light, and when the switch was turned, it did something amazing. It made food, real food, warm, soft, green, and alive. The villagers gasped. One piece of fruit made from sun and soil and scrap. Leo turned to the elder. I want to bring this to them, he said. The elder looked shocked. Rin grabbed his arm. You can't, she said. They'll destroy it. They'll destroy you. But Leo just shook his head. If I can build fear, he said, then I can build peace. So he carried the machine on his back, through the tunnel, across the valley, into the shadows of the enemy's world. He came with no armor, no weapon, just light. The rival tribe saw him coming. They stood in silence. Some raised weapons, but the leader, tall and scarred, raised one hand, and everyone stopped. Leo stepped into the camp, placed the machine in the dirt, and pressed the button. A warm light filled the camp. Then, in front of their eyes, a fruit grew. Small, perfect, glowing. He picked it up, held it out to the leader. A gift, not a threat. The leader stared at it, then took it in his hand, bit into it, and said nothing. But something changed. The weapons lowered. The tribe gathered close. One child reached out, and Leo gave her another piece. Then another and another, for the first time in years. That camp was filled with life, not from fire, not from fear, but from a machine built by a human boy that night. Leo stayed near the edge of the rival camp. He didn't sleep, he just watched the stars and hoped by morning. The leader walked over and placed the power core, the stolen one, at Leo's feet. Then turned away without a word. Rin was waiting at the tunnel when Leo returned. She ran to him, tears in her eyes. You're crazy, she said, laughing. You gave them everything. No, Leo said with a smile. I gave them a beginning. The sky was clear above the village. The clouds moved slow. Golden light touched the roofs. And children laughed in the fields. Crops grew tall and strong. Water flowed clean and cold. Machines hummed quietly.
Ow.
Like music in the background, Leo stood near the edge of the cliff, watching the horizon beside him.
Ow.
Rin smiled and handed him a warm fruit. He didn't eat it right away. He just held it, thinking. It had been 3 weeks since he walked into the rival camp. 3 weeks since peace began. Now both villages shared power. Food and tools. They built new roads, exchanged stories, taught each other languages. The humans had left Leo behind, but Leo had never felt more needed. He had fixed more than broken. Tech. He had fixed something deeper. But that morning, everything changed. A strange sound echoed in the sky. Not a bird, not thunder. It was a ship, a human rescue ship. It appeared in the clouds, silver and smooth, with blinking lights and long wings. It hovered over the valley, scanning, blinking, landing slow. The villagers stopped what they were doing. They watched in silence. As the ramp opened and 2 people stepped out in bright white suits, Leo took a deep breath and walked toward them. The first human stepped forward. "Helmet off, eyes wide. You're alive," she said. "We thought everyone on the cargo ship was lost." Leo nodded slowly. "I was," he replied. "But then, I found something better." The second officer looked confused. "These are aliens," he said, glancing around. "They're peaceful," Leo said quickly. "They help me." The humans looked at each other. "You're coming home with us," the officer said. "We'll take you back to Earth." Back to safety, Leo looked at Rin, at the children in the fields, at the machines he had built with his own hands, at the villages working together, side by side. His world wasn't broken anymore. It was growing, alive. He looked back at the ship, back at Earth, and then at the planet that had once tried to kill him. Now it felt like home. "I'll stay," he said softly. The officers blinked, surprised. "Are you sure?" they asked. Leo nodded. "I came from the stars," he said, "but I was born here." They didn't argue. They simply left him with a beacon, something to call the next ship. Someday, then they rose back into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. The villagers ran to Leo and Rin, cheering. Rin grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the fields. There was work to do, machines to build, lives to grow later that night. The villagers carved something into the stone wall at the heart of the village, a circle with stars, a small glider, and a hand holding a glowing seed. Below it they wrote, in both languages, "Leo the Builder, the boy who fell from the sky and chose to stay." The stars above blinked quietly, and somewhere far away, Earth kept spinning. But here, on this forgotten planet, a legend had been born, not of war, not of power, but of one human boy and the hope he built from trash.